This is an Xbox Series X, and this is a Series S. But I don't have one of those. I have this. 2017's Xbox One X came with 12GB of RAM, a 6 teraflop AMD GPU, and a pretty terrible 8-core AMD Jaguar Evolved CPU clocked at 2.3 GHz. I've had mine for almost 4 years now, so we're going to tear it down, clean it up, and install this 1TB SSD that I got for under $50. Then I'll tell you why I'm still using this thing in 2023.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall. Praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap, I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks, listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast, don't remember life before you, that's fact. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
Removing the top cover was easy. Remove all the screws you can see, and after all the long screws are out, the bottom cover will come off. Remove the metal cover. Taking out the disk drive is probably the hardest part here because the cables don't come out easily. The hard drive was simple. Once you've removed the fan assembly, you can flip it over, take off the heatsink retainer, and carefully separate the heatsink from the board. As you can see, this old paste is dry and needs to be replaced. Now it's just a matter of cleaning everything up thoroughly. This was my first time tearing this console down, and it was a relatively straightforward process. What wasn't straightforward was the cloning process. Oh man, the cloning process. To be clear, I've used Macrium Reflex before with no issues, but this time, for whatever reason, cloning the 1TB hard drive to the 1TB SSD was more painful than stubbing your toe on a coffee table and then standing on a Lego. 30 minutes of battling an inanimate object, I finally figured out how to correctly align and size the partitions. Then, well,
2 hours later.
yeah, it took another 2 hours to clone. Good news though, now we've done the hard work, we can put it back together and check this upgrade out. Surely, it'll work great. And all that time will have been a rewarding process.
You serious?
Yes, that's 2.5 hours of my life that I won't get back. So what went wrong? Well, error E105 is a generic error code that means the Xbox encountered a hardware or software issue on startup, and after performing the system reset, E102 typically indicates a software failure, especially since we know that the drive is good. What I figured out is that although I aligned the partitions and cloned the drive, the cloning process somehow corrupted the OS. Searching through posts online shows there are plenty of others that had a similar issue. Why did I waste my time if there's a simpler solution?
You are the dumbest dumb person I have ever met.
In fact, this is the one that I recommend you do, and it's the same process for any Xbox from the One S forward. Grab the OSU1 file from the link in the description below. Find the downloaded folder and extract the files. Now, format the flash drive in NTFS. Once that's done, copy or move the system update file to the drive, then eject it. Plug the drive into the Xbox, turn it on, select Offline Update, then wait until it's finished. Finally, you can set your Xbox up as if it was new. This is a much faster and more reliable solution than cloning. Now, you've probably been wondering, why did I decide to do this to a One X in 2023? Cleaning and repasting will have a marked improvement on temperatures, meaning that the console will last longer. The SSD has made the boot time shorter, the UI smoother and more responsive, while game load times are also faster. I had Google Stadia for 3 years, and now that that's gone to the graveyard, Xbox Cloud Gaming seems to work best on a console. Works well enough for me to try games I normally wouldn't. With a few clicks there and a couple of button pushes over here, boom, I'm loaded in and playing. The primary reason though is for a series on this channel called So. I've never played Halo, Mass Effect, Gears of War, or a whole host of other excellent games from previous console generations, which means I've never got to experience the top quality stories and characters those games produce. There are 632 games from the Xbox 360 era and 63 from the original Xbox era that are backwards compatible. The One X does this perfectly. By the way, if you have any recommendations for games, be sure to let me know. It's also capable of HDR, upscaled, or in some cases native 4K, and some of those backwards compatible games even run at 60 FPS. It still does everything I need it to. And to be honest, having a decent PC would negate any reason I have for buying a Series X right now. So go out and buy yourself a One X in 2023, right? Well, sort of. While I have all these positive things to say, I already own one. And if you do too, then maybe consider this upgrade for similar use or as a second console. The only reason to buy one is for 4K. Personally, I wouldn't pay more than $150 for a One X today, plus the $50 for the SSD. Because these things still sell for between $170 and $300, the better option is to buy a Series S. You'll get current gen benefits, the same backwards compatibility with improved performance, and it'll be new with the warranty for those of you who value that. The only drawback, for some, would be the maximum resolution of 1440p. My cleaned and upgraded One X is a classic and cloud gaming monster that does everything I need a console to do in 2023. Let me know your thoughts below. Please do all the usual YouTube stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.